The club have just released an article explaining the return dates and the current condition of all of our injured players at the moment. And I thought that'd be a really good idea to make a video. We'll talk about the players returning from injury and what our team might look like in a few weeks' time. Before actually getting to the players themselves, just very quickly, I think this is really good from the club, first of all. Really clear, concise communication about a topic fans were really interested, right? When are all of our injured players coming back and what's their latest status? Second of all, I mentioned this on last week's video when I spoke the injury crisis that we were in and you know, is there some root cause issues going on at the club that we need to address? And I just want to say I have full faith that that's being looked into. I've been lucky enough to meet Tom, the CEO, and I know we've just had Richard Scudamore join the board as well. There's no doubt in my mind that those people are asking the same questions as us fans, and they're doing the best to get to the bottom of what's causing these problems. I'm having trust that that's happening. I think you should too. All right, just very quickly then, this graphic here summarises the current status of our injured players, right? How many players we have out injured, basically. Harry Cornick, Josh Stokes, Max Bird, Jason Knight, Joe Williams, Neto Borges, Campering, Mark Sykes, Atkinson and McNally, right? There was also a murmuring on Twitter because Ross McCrory didn't get called up. Well, he dropped out of the Scotland team. There was obviously, as a result, a couple murmurs on Twitter that he might have an injury. It certainly doesn't look that way. He's withdrawn from the squad and should be fine for action next week. So just want to clear that up on McCrory. But that's the current status of just how many players we have injured. Right, I'm going to start off on a positive note with some good news. So Jason Knight and Campering are set to return to first team training next week. So I'd imagine, I'll be honest, I think the players have been given a few days off this week during the international break, and I think they'll get back to training on maybe Monday. So yeah, return to training for Campering and Jason Knight next week. And I think with the injuries we've got to Rob Atkinson, obviously Zach Viner having to play in midfield, these guys are needed, right? I think Campering can play left centre-back in place of Rob Atkinson, who's going to be out for a bit longer. I'll let you know later on in the video just how long he's going to be out for. But yeah, these two are going to be needed in the team. One thing I would say is I don't expect them to be rushed back in. Like, the nature of the injuries that they've got, particularly Jason Knight, which is arguably down to overuse, the last thing you want to do is go straight in and overuse the players again. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the lineup against Swansea being something similar to what we've been playing recently, with these players potentially getting some minutes off the bench. But it's really good news to have our captain in Campering back next week. So Neto Borges, he obviously got substituted against Blackburn. I'm pretty sure Struber said he felt an issue with his calf and he didn't want to take any chances, so he basically requested to be subbed. And I admire that because I think it was an intelligent decision from him to do that. He may have been able to get through the game, but may have been limited or made the injury worse and put us in even a worse position with injuries. So if that was the case, I admire him for doing that. He's been given some extra time to recover, which is good. And it looks like, similar to Jason Knight and Campering, he's going to be back in training next week as well. And I reckon, because it's not a long-term injury like Jason Knight and Campering have picked up, you'd like to think he'd be ready for the starting 11 against Swansea. We also had an update on Mark Sykes and Harry Cornick. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mark Sykes picked up a shin injury where it was literally cut to the bone. It was pretty nasty. It sounds like he's undergone a minor procedure and he's going to return to training over the next couple of weeks. I mean, from his perspective, I think it's a wound that needs to be healed. So a couple of weeks sounds like a fair prognosis. Harry Cornick, so he's progressing well from a knee injury, and he's also had a hernia repair for a long-standing issue as well. So there's no time frame for Harry Cornick's return, but I'll be honest, in the nicest way possible to Harry Cornick, he's not first name kind of player on the team sheet, is he? So we could, if he's a couple of months out, I think we can deal with that for the time being as a squad. But it's good to see that Mark Sykes will be back in the next couple of weeks. I also thought it was interesting that he still got named in the Republic of Ireland squad when they did all the international squad announcements, which I thought was absolutely wild. Like, how unprofessional is that of the Irish football? I don't know. I guess it's the Irish Football Association that picked the team. To not know what happened to him on Tuesday against Blackburn and then pick him in the squad is absolutely wild. One could only assume, I sound very posh saying that, but you could only assume that the Ireland manager phoned up Mark Sykes to say, all right, mate, you're in the team. And then Mark was like, hang on, mate, my shin was cut to the bone. I can't play. I don't know. It just seems a bit mental. But yeah, he should be back in the next couple of weeks. And there's an update on Cornick. Josh Stokes, who obviously I've really unfortunately picked up a broken metatarsal in the Fulham game. So he's restarted pitch work. He's going to build that over the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks, obviously after breaking his metatarsal. I imagine when you've got a broken foot in particular, it's really hard to like keep fit. Like there's stuff you can do to like maintain like your aerobic overall fitness. But if you've got a broken foot, I'm not really sure what he's gonna be able to do. So I imagine over that time he's probably really struggled to do any real physical activity. So yeah, hopefully, that those next 4 to 6 weeks will build him up to some form of match fitness where he's ready to go in the team. So looks by what sort of Christmas time, he should be back and absolutely ready to be playing for us. We got an update on Max Bird as well. So he obviously had the reoccurrence of his calf issue, which kept him out during pre-season. It's anticipated that he's going to start running on the pitch this week with a view to return to first team training in the next month. Real shame on Max Bird to have that injury reoccur. I imagine it's been really frustrating for the guy, to be honest with you. But it sounds like he's going to be on the pitch this week. So that's a really good thing. And I hope to see him back in the team as soon as possible, because I think what Max Bird does is he provides vital rotation for the two number 10s in behind our striker. Because at the moment, Mehmeti and Twine are having to play 90 minutes every game. And, well, not every game, but you know what I mean. There's very little competition for those positions. And I think Max Bird can play there. So the sooner he is back, the better. But that's a good time frame to see for him. Big Rob, this article doesn't necessarily provide a change in terms of his update, because Gerhard Struber pretty much told us what the issue was. On his 5th of November press conference, he said his hamstring injury is going to leave him out till Christmas. So we're going to be without Rob Atkinson until Christmas time. But Cam Pring has returned to training this week, a player who I think will slot into left centre-back. So bad to have Atkinson out, but we should hopefully have Cam Pring coming back into the team to take his place. And obviously, something I've learned over the last month is I've never had an ACL injury, but in order to repair an ACL injury, apparently they take a part of your hamstring in order to fix it. And I'd wonder whether this hamstring injury Rob Atkinson's suffering from is the hamstring that was used to repair his ACL, if that makes sense. The two may well be linked. But yeah, he's going to be out till Christmas. Unfortunately, the next two are longer term. So Joe Williams, unfortunately, with his hamstrings, it's interesting because I wonder where that actually occurred, because I went to the open training session the club put on week before our first game. No, it was a week before the Valladolid game, I think. Or maybe the day before, or something like that. Very close to that game anyway. And if I remember rightly, he was taking part in that. So he must have injured himself in training. But he suffered a hamstring injury that needed surgery. He's unfortunately going to be out until February 2026. I guess that's right in time for our playoff charge, I guess, with a bit of luck. But I'm only joking. But yeah, February 2026 for Joe Williams. And probably the saddest news, and I left it till last, and I just want to say, Luke McNally won't watch this video, will he? But I just want to wish him the absolute best, because it sounds pretty terrible for him, to be honest. He had his surgery in 2025. He's seen some of the leading knee specialists in Europe, apparently, and has required 2 further surgeries on his knee. The ACL has remained intact, but he's needed additional surgery to address other post-operative complications. So the poor bloke has had a right nightmare with it by the sounds of it. So he's going to have a review in early 2026 with a specialist, and that'll establish like his return to play timeframe. But yeah, poor bloke. If I'm honest, I really doubt we'll see him again this season. If the ACL's intact, I mean, I'm no doctor, but you'd hope that means he can play again. At some point for Luke McNally, given all of that may well have been a real worry for him, whether he would actually play professional football ever again. It sounds like the answer to that is probably yes, but we might not see him again this year. So just want to say on record, I wish you the absolute best, Luke McNally. Hope to see you back playing football sometime within the next year with a bit of luck. So with all that in mind, I thought, well, we could build a team, couldn't we, with the players that we've got available? And what I'm thinking is, maybe not our team against Swansea, but maybe in the next couple of games, right? Based on Cam Pring and Jason Knight being back. I think that's absolutely huge for us, to be honest, having those two back. So this is the team I think we'll have available to us, with a bit of luck that no one else gets injured within the next couple of weeks. I'm just going to move my mic quickly because the screen changes when I change scene. So obviously this guy in goal, it will mean a move of Viner back to centre-half, well, right of centre-back, which is really good. Dickey's going to be in the middle, isn't he? I would imagine, just because of the players available, Campring is going to have to play right centre-back. I'm not necessarily saying I think that's his best position, but I think he's going to have to play there with the players we've got available. McCrory is probably our starting right wing-back, but, you could also definitely, of course, have Sykes there. Knight in midfield alongside Randall. Put Randall back in. And then it's probably going to be Neto Borges at left back, isn't it? Borges, is he there? Neto Borges. Twine. Mehmeti. Mehmeti. And Reece. So, you've watched me just boringly build that team. But I think that... Okay, the bloody ads on this website are annoying. There we go. I think that will be our team in a couple of weeks' time, which is, I think, something to get excited about. You see that starting 11, right? And honestly, I think that starting 11 is good enough to challenge for the playoffs, right? The starting 11 that we've been able to put out in recent weeks, with the tiredness of players, you'd argue it's more mid-table. But if you can start that team every week with even more options coming back for rotation, like Max Bird, he can obviously play one of the midfield positions, also one of the number 10s. Rob Atkinson at Christmas time, there's a case maybe even recall Jamie Knight-Labelle, given the McNally news and Atkinson being out to Christmas. That's something we could potentially do. But yeah, I think it's a better position than I was thinking we'd be in going into the international break. Anyway, we've got, with Knight and Pring back in the team, I think you can assemble, as I said, a playoff quality starting 11. So I think there's plenty to be positive about, on return from this international break. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I promised to do one Robin's Nest video per week. This is the weekly Robin's Nest video for the first week of the international break. Date is the 12th of November, and we've had that update today. I think that's the perfect thing to talk about going into the international break. The good news is no one has gone off to represent their nations from a selfish Bristol City perspective. Obviously, Knight and Sykes are injured, so they couldn't represent Northern Ireland, and McCrory is I think he must have withdrawn from the Scotland team. So, unless anything stupid happens in training, we should all be good. And to be honest, I hope at the moment the players are on a little bit of a break. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you did, enjoy the video. I'm a bit mixed with my words in this one. Please leave a like rating. Let me know in the comments what you think your starting 11 would be with all of those players available that I mentioned. I'm sure it'd be pretty close to the one I've just mentioned there. And subscribe to the Robin's Nest channel if you haven't already. Be plenty more weekly Bristol City content coming your way all the way until the end of the season. And yeah, cheers for watching. I'll see you in the next one.